Rain poured down over the military cemetery as a young Marine sat silently in his wheelchair, staring at the motionless legs that once carried him across battlefields. His uniform was soaked, his hands trembling. He hadn't spoken a full sentence in months, not since the explosion overseas stole his ability to walk and separated him from the friends he fought beside and destroyed the life he once knew. His father watched helplessly, desperate to bring back even a flicker of the son he remembered. Then, through the storm, the father knelt beside him with a small German shepherd puppy in his arms. "Danny," he whispered gently, "I want you to meet someone." The Marine looked at the pup, tiny, shaking, eyes full of innocence, and for the first time in months, something inside him shifted. He reached out. The puppy stepped into his lap, and what happened next stunned not just his father, but left doctors completely speechless. A father gives a paralyzed Marine a German shepherd. What the dog did left doctors speechless. The rain always seemed heavier at the cemetery, like the sky itself was mourning. Sergeant Daniel Hayes sat silently in his wheelchair, his uniform neatly pressed, the medals on his chest gleaming, but his eyes empty. Once a fearless Marine who ran toward danger without hesitation, he now struggled to lift his own hands. The explosion overseas had taken everything in a single flash: his mobility, his brothers in arms, and the fire that once burned inside him. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive, but Daniel never felt lucky. Every night, he woke from nightmares drenched in sweat, hearing the echoes of the blast, feeling the weight of those he couldn't save. His father, John, stood nearby under an umbrella, watching helplessly as his son disappeared a little more each day. Daniel rarely spoke, barely ate, barely reacted to anything. Therapy sessions ended in silence. Medications dulled his senses, but not his pain. John knelt beside him, trying to break through the wall his son had built. "Danny, talk to me," he whispered, but Daniel's jaw tightened. A single tear slipped down his cheek before he turned his face away. John's heart cracked. His son had survived war, yet was losing the battle at home. The wind picked up, blowing droplets across Daniel's uniform. He didn't flinch, didn't move, didn't live, just existed. John swallowed hard. Something had to change. Something, or someone, had to reach him, because if nothing happened soon, John feared he'd lose his son forever. John spent sleepless nights scrolling through articles, medical journals, and support groups, anything that could help his son. Doctors offered statistics. Therapists offered plans, but no one offered hope. Daniel remained trapped in a silent world, unreachable behind the trauma that chained his mind as tightly as the wheelchair held his body. One evening, as John sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands, an article flashed across his screen: "Service Dogs That Change Lives." He clicked it without thinking. The story told of veterans who hadn't spoken in months, suddenly connecting through the presence of a dog. Men who refused therapy until a dog nudged them toward it. Soldiers who rediscovered purpose because a four-legged companion believed in them before they believed in themselves. John's breath caught. Could something as small as a puppy do what doctors couldn't? He dialed a number listed at the bottom of the page. A gentle, warm voice answered. "We specialize in German shepherds for emotional and mobility support," the breeder explained. "Some dogs, they seem born to heal." The next morning, John drove 3 hours to the farm. The breeder led him to a small litter wrestling in the grass. But one pup didn't join the chaos. A tiny German shepherd with big, thoughtful eyes padded over to John, sat in front of him, and simply looked up, quiet, steady, almost understanding. John felt something shift. "This one," he whispered. Picking the pup up, the puppy licked his hand gently. For the first time in months, John felt hope. John held the tiny German shepherd puppy close as he wheeled Daniel into the warm light of their living room. Daniel stared ahead, expression distant, jaw clenched. His father knew that look. He was there, but also miles away, trapped in memories he couldn't escape. "Danny," John said gently, "there's someone I want you to meet." Daniel didn't respond. John knelt and placed the puppy carefully in Daniel's lap. For a moment, Daniel didn't even blink. His hands stayed frozen on the armrests, his breathing shallow. The puppy looked up at him, tiny paws pressed against Daniel's legs, tail wagging softly. Then, as if sensing the heaviness inside him, the puppy whimpered and nudged Daniel's hand. Daniel's fingers twitched. Another nudge. A soft lick. A warm, gentle weight settling onto his chest. The Marine's eyes flickered, just barely, but enough for John to notice. Daniel swallowed hard. Why did you bring a dog?" he muttered, voice cracked and unfamiliar from disuse. John's eyes filled. His son was speaking. "He's not just a dog," John said softly. "He's here for you, to help you heal." The puppy curled against Daniel, refusing to move. His tiny heartbeat thumped steadily, grounding him in a way no medicine ever had. Slowly, hesitantly, Daniel lifted one trembling hand and placed it on the puppy's back. For the first time since returning home, Daniel felt something warm crack through the darkness. The days that followed were the first time Daniel's home felt alive again. The tiny German Shepherd pup, whom Daniel quietly named Valor, followed him everywhere. If Daniel wheeled into the kitchen, Valor trotted beside him. If nightmares jolted him awake, Valor was already on his chest, whining softly until Daniel calmed. If Daniel's breathing shifted into panic, Valor pawed at his arm. Alert and instinctive, doctors called it emotional response support. But to John, it looked like a miracle. One afternoon during physical therapy, Daniel struggled to lift his arm. His face tightened, frustration boiling inside him. "I can't do it," he muttered. "Just stop." But Valor didn't let him. The pup barked, not loudly, but insistently, then nudged Daniel's elbow with his nose. A soft push, then another. Encouragement, not force. Daniel hesitated, then tried again. His arm lifted, just a few inches, but it lifted. The therapist froze. "Daniel, that's the most movement we've seen since the accident." Valor wagged his tail proudly, circling Daniel's wheelchair like he'd just witnessed a victory parade. That night, as Daniel brushed Valor's fur with shaky hands, he whispered, "Why do you care so much, huh?" Valor simply placed a paw on Daniel's knee and leaned his warm head against him. It was the first time Daniel didn't feel broken, because someone finally believed he wasn't. The therapy room was quiet, sunlight spilling across the polished floor. Daniel stared at the parallel bars in front of him, bars he had touched 100 times but never truly used. Doctors said the nerve damage was too severe. Walking again? Impossible. Hope was something he'd buried long ago. Valor sat by his wheelchair, tail still, eyes locked on Daniel as if waiting for something. "Let's just try," the therapist said gently. "No pressure." Daniel shook his head. "I can't. Nothing works." But Valor suddenly barked, a sharp, commanding sound that echoed through the room. He trotted in front of Daniel, placing both paws on the Marine's knees, staring straight into his eyes. "Valor," Daniel whispered. The dog nudged his leg. Firm, insistent, but Daniel's heart pounded. He reached for the bars. His arms trembled as he pulled himself up. And then, his right leg twitched. The therapist gasped. "Do that again. Try again." Daniel focused, Valor pressing close, encouraging him with soft whines. Another twitch. Then a movement. Then, his foot lifted. An inch off the ground. The room fell silent. "Daniel," the therapist whispered, stunned, "you just moved your leg." Daniel's breath shook. Valor barked triumphantly, and for the first time since the explosion, Daniel felt hope ignite inside him. Rehabilitation became a different world with Valor beside Daniel. What once felt like endless torture now felt like a mission, one the Marine finally believed he could win. Every morning, Valor nudged him awake, pawing gently at his chest as if reminding him, "We fight today." And Daniel fought, through pain, fear, and doubt. Then came the moment no one expected. During a routine evaluation, the therapist asked Daniel to try standing without the bars. Daniel hesitated, gripping his wheelchair tightly. "I don't know if I can," he whispered. Valor stepped forward, pressing his head under Daniel's hand. A silent promise. Daniel took a breath and pushed. His legs shook violently. His arms trembled. And then, he stood. The therapist gasped. John covered his mouth, tears spilling. Valor barked once, proud and fierce. Step by step, Daniel began moving across the room. Slow, unsteady, but walking. Doctors rushed in, stunned. "This is beyond medical explanation," one said. But Daniel knew the truth. He knelt down, painfully, shakily, and wrapped his arms around Valor. "You saved me," he whispered. "Not just my body, my life." Valor rested his head on Daniel's shoulder, tail swaying that a new chapter had begun, and the Marine would never face it alone again.